Welcome to the San Diego Sabres Radio Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. San Diego Sabres is the premier lightsaber combat training group in the San Diego area. On this show, we get together and talk about saber fighting, combat techniques, and a lot of Star Wars geekery.
Okay, and we are recording.
Ooh, right.
All right, and in a minute I will check all the other feeds, but welcome once again to San Diego Sabres Radio Podcast. This is producer Andre here in our next episode in our series with the SMAF Saber Martial Arts Foundation leadership team. And I will now hand it off to Alan to introduce our guest.
Hello, this is Alan Venable, president of the Saber Martial Arts Foundation, and also the guy that runs Phoenix Saber Academy. Today we have a special treat all the way from the East Coast. We got the purveyor, founder, the head instructor, Grand Poobah. I'm not sure what your actual title is, but this is my man Courtney from Saber Light Knights. Courtney, please rank, school. Tell us more about who you are.
All right. So first of all, I am honored to be a part of this. I've listened for quite some time. And, you know, it's good to get in and mix it up with you guys. So let me get that out of the way first.
Yeah.
And then, so Courtney Monroe. I am based out of Charlottesville, Virginia, that area, Central Virginia.
Cool.
And Saber Light Knights. My title is headmaster.
Nice.
Yes, I am headmaster of Saber Light Knights. We've been active for October. What's my math like? A little over 2 years, going
Nice.
on 2.5 years, something like that. Actually, I was a founder of a similar organization
Cool.
that we started. That was about 5 or 6 years ago, but I'm sure we'll get into that, you know, as we continue our chat here.
Sure.
And that's me.
Right on, man. It's such a pleasure to actually speak to you and ask you all the wacky questions that we have, because out of everybody, I think out of everybody that's a leader in Saber Martial Arts Foundation, I feel like your story and mine are very close, at least the martial arts side. So
Absolutely.
first of all, you are a martial arts teacher, right?
So yes, let me divulge a little bit on that. So,
Okay.
So currently I am not actually teaching martial arts.
Right. Well, there is a global pandemic and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So if you're not counting Saber martial arts, I'm technically teaching. But yes, I am a Chinese martial artist like you. And I began my training in Kung Fu just a little bit after I graduated out of high school. I'm 33 now. And just a few years into that time of me beginning, I began to teach both the youth and the adults at that specific academy. So definitely have plenty of teaching experience.
Right on. You said how long were you teaching?
So let's see here. It was about 4-ish years.
Nice. And how long were you practicing before then?
Okay, so let's back up. So my martial journey.
Yeah. What made you get into it? Like what made you fall in love, I guess?
Yeah, so I guess my story is similar to a lot of people's. I hear some of yours in mind when I listen to the podcast with you, Alan. But so my dad, he was a Bruce Lee fan. Okay, right.
Yeah.
And I will never forget sitting down with him one day. My mom was gone out of town on like a work trip, a business trip, and we sat down. We watched Enter the Dragon. Right.
Nice.
And so that was, it's kind of like, okay, that's cool. I thought it was awesome, but it didn't really like influence me like that. Right. It wasn't until I was a little bit older, maybe about preteen age. My mom's side of the family is from New York. So I spent a lot of time in New York as a kid. And my uncle by marriage, who was actually into Star Wars and in all of this, which I'll get into later, he kind of put word in my lap. He actually introduced me to a movie. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called The Iron Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like one of Donnie Yen's like earlier movies. He played, I think, Wong Kar-wai, the parent of Wong Fei-hung, famous Chinese hero. And that movie, like to this day, that is my all-time favorite like martial arts movie.
Yeah.
Just to digress, it's like the perfect mix of like the wuxia, high flying, wire work, and then just like beautiful, like hard hitting choreography, right? I watched that movie and I'm like, oh, like jaw dropped. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go. So yeah. I mean, you get it, right?
Yeah. I'm right there with you, man. I sat there like I told these guys. I watched Drunken Master, and then my mom basically had to restrain me from rolling around the house. So I was like, "Look, I'm just like him." Like, yeah, but you also gave yourself a black eye. It was that kind of thing with me. So I'm right there with you, man. So
yeah,
so you saw Iron Monkey. So were you living in New York at the time, or?
So I was still living in Charlottesville, and that was just one of my many like quarterly New York trips that I would take.
Oh, cool.
And then when I came back, I had my eye open now. Like, okay, well, now I want to do that stuff. It was cool to watch, but now I actually want to do it.
Right. So what was your how'd you start? What was the journey? Was it like a phone call, or was it like just, oh, hey, there's that local place that I know of?
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I went back to Charlottesville and I looked around. It was different back then. There's no internet, and you can't just Google where you want to go. And it was actually during the summer. And what ended up happening was in my camp, a Taekwondo teacher came and did like a couple of sessions.
Oh, cool.
Right. And then that's when, it started. It wasn't Kung Fu, but this guy's doing like, 360 spin kicks, breaking up boards,
right?
Sawdust flying everywhere. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, I'm in there. So I did his, little summer camp course.
Cool.
And then after that, I stuck around with that Taekwondo school.
Right. And how old are you at this point?
Oh man, I was
12. 15, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, like 12, 13-ish, something like that.
Right on. Your first martial art is Taekwondo then? Like officially. Because we all do like, couch kung fu, I like to call it. Like when you're a kid, you think you know how to do a jump kick.
Yep. So it was Taekwondo officially. Yeah. And one of my most vivid memories is of course like the board breaking, right? The teacher of that class. So here's how it worked. You have the hierarchy in martial arts, right?
Sure.
How in kung fu you have your your sifu, and then your sifu, and then like Sihing, like your brother, and all that. So the grandmaster of that lineage of Taekwondo, I actually believe it was a McDojo. But anyway.
So for those of you listening, we have a term in the martial arts world called, it's basically everyone can make a sandwich better than McDonald's, but it's easy, it's convenient, it's fast.
Yep.
Black belt. That's what a McDojo is. Now, there's nothing wrong with McDojos. They're actually really good to get your foot in the door, but a good teacher in a McDojo will tell you there's more to learn past what they teach you there. Unfortunately, because they're called McDojos, it also means that there's one every couple blocks as well, just like McDonald's.
Yep.
So just a little bit of jargon explanation for those of you listening whenever we talk about McDojos.
Exactly.
That's
And
okay.
yeah,
My
like you
first
said,
official one was actually a McDojo as well.
was it really?
Yeah, which was fine because it
Yeah.
was. I think when they did my interview, I was like, "Yeah, I stayed there for maybe 2 months." Before my mom was like, "Nope, this is not what I want from you." So,
Yep.
but it still to this day, I remember it as a good experience because it got me in the door. It planted that seed. That hey, this is actually something that shows up, and I can actually find one of these places somewhere, which I love. I love the fact that you can do that because the more martial arts schools out there, the more martial arts there is. I find, but that's just me.
That's always a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So you went to quite possibly McDojo. How long did you stay? How long were you a student there?
Yeah, so it wasn't terribly long. I would give it maybe a little over a year, something like that. And then that was around high school time. I ended up going to high school.
Mm-hmm.
That ended up being its own whole thing. I had a good journey there. It wasn't anything negative.
Well,
that was its own whole thing. And then,
because traditionally in Taekwondo, they usually teach you bow staff as your first weapon. Did you transition into weapons in that time?
I did. I never got weapons.
Oh, okay, that's sometimes that's the case too. Yeah, because traditionally, I know enough teachers that's the first transition weapon in that particular style. Which is a great weapon to learn and do, and it looks flashy and everything. But what made you? So you did Taekwondo, you did high school. Then what happened? What was the transition to Chinese martial arts then? Because there is a gap here.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a gap. So what ended up happening? So I left high school, and then I was doing more school after that, and then I was also doing your thing, working and all of that, and they say to kind of get a little deep here, I ended up kind of falling into a kind of depressive state. How life kind of beats you down.
Sure.
Sometimes it's just the perfect storm of things. That's how it was in my life. Things, parents, failing health, things like that. And what ended up happening was I was at a gym in Charlottesville, and I walked past a flyer on the wall. It's one of those pull-off tab flyers, right? And it was actually for Wushu.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it was a picture of Jet Li. I'll never forget it. Doing a split or whatever.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, it's time I actually do what I wanted to do initially.
Okay.
And there's no perfect time than now, since it's right in my face.
Sure.
So I pulled the tab, and I made the call, and the rest is history. I began training in Wushu, and I never looked back. I just kept going.
That's great. Well, the beauty of that is it reminds me of a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So it's one of those things that, if you weren't in that particular place at that particular time, you would have never seen that flyer, right?
Exactly. That's saying absolutely perfect for what happened that day.
Yeah.
That's absolutely perfect. I'll never forget. It was March. It was middle of March, and I just happened to walk by, and I'm like, oh, and then there we go. Yeah. My time there was fantastic. As we all know, Wushu is it's a bit more sport based,
right?
And that kind of was my experience with that.
Right.
The gentleman running it was, one of the baddest guys ever. He could do 360 kick and land in a split, and then flip and do head flips like a Shaolin monk. He knew it. So I actually had a really good teacher, and actually learned some Sanda as well.
Oh, awesome.
Which I love Sanda. I feel like it's one of the better fighting arts that exists out here in the world.
Well, any art that says whatever you got is legal is usually like what
can't go wrong.
Sure, whatever you got. No,
exactly.
No biting. We're good. I think those are the rules of Sanda. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But
So
I know that
Sanda.
takedowns are more points. That's as much as
Yep. That's why I loved it. Like, it has the kicking and it has the striking with the hands and it has the wrestling and it has the throws. It's all one big thing. And then of course it's based in Chinese martial arts.
It was basically what you saw at the beginning of Enter the Dragon, right?
There you go. That's it.
Sammo Hung versus Bruce Lee. That was a Sanda match actually, and if you watch Sanda matches now, it kind of looks like that still. There's a bunch of monks just sitting there watching it. Yeah. I mean, there's more padding now, but other than that, it lives exactly like that.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to ask this because every martial artist that I know that has ever done it, do you have those gigantic gloves from Enter the Dragon?
So I do, and I don't have them. I do know what you're talking about, but I don't have them. But my favorite way to tell someone who's done Chinese martial arts is if they if they always wear Fei Weis, if they wear those like Fei Wei canvas shoes. I wear my Fei Weis to this day. Like I wear them casually. Like I walk around in my Fei Weis, right? Like I wear them all the time.
It's the thing. You call them Fei Weis, but we call them Feiyus because the Y looks the W or the Y. But we always thought it was based off of Yu Fei, the Chinese hero. So that's why we call them Feiyus. But are they actually called Fei Weis?
I think you're actually correct. I think you're right.
Because one of my students actually went to the factory, the Feiyu factory.
Oh, really?
Because it's like 2 blocks down from the Shaolin Temple.
That's fantastic.
So, he was like, he actually asked a funny question. He's like, why is it that your sizes are never the same? And their answer was very, very Chinese. They were like, does the shoe fit you? I was like, I mean, he's not wrong. As long
as he's not wrong, but I mean, like, you're going to give me a philosophical Buddhist answer to just simply.
Can you wear the shoe?
That's hilarious.
Okay, cool. Well, okay, so you did that. What is the first weapon you started in Wushu then?
So what ended up happening was it was staff. It was a staff. Okay. Just kind of how you mentioned with Taekwondo. And that might still be my favorite weapon, period. But what ended up happening is I stayed and I trained Wushu for a couple of years or so. Then I actually moved to a traditional Chinese martial arts academy. And then that's where the bulk of my Chinese martial arts training manifested. Okay, cool. And then and what I ended up learning there was long fist, Walam, praying mantis, then you get Tai Chi. And then we integrated with a Jiao Ga school, and then my training became Jiao Ga and then Mizong Yi. And then and then of course you have your internal arts. You have Xing Yi, and then you have Bagua, and then you have Baji. Baji's my favorite.
Of course, one of my favorite scriptures comes from Baji.
Does it? Yeah,
when the angels and the demons cry when they see you move. That is Baji. I'm like, dang. All right.
Just completely and utterly badass, and there's no other way to look at that. In fact, so I would still meet with the Wushu guys. I would still train with them and all of that. And it was on a racquetball court. I don't know if you've ever been on one of those, but like the floor is hot. Like you have the wood floor that's hollow underneath. Baji, like you do those strikes and you stomp the floors, boom, boom, it's like thunder, right? Yeah. And you feel like that,
it makes you feel real powerful when you do it right. When you do it wrong, you're like, oh, when you do it wrong.
When you do it wrong. Yeah.
So you started that. So you did what type of staff then was the first?
So it was Northern Shaolin staff, the big long white waxwood. And then we moved over to what's Surin Tao Gun, the double-headed staff, which was more of a Southern style. And I mean, of course, you know the difference.
Well,
the long
for the people that don't, it's good to.
Yeah, yeah, it was long stances and big flippy movements. And then with the Jiao Guy, it was very tight, very low stances. Very, the difference there.
Smaller space to move. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What would you use in an alley? Probably the second. Right? Yeah. So
more than likely.
So you went from staff, and what made you pick up a sword?
So what ended up happening was we moved over to Dao, right? We moved over to the Dao, and then that was the point when I first picked up a sword. Was a just regular broadsword Dao.
And Chinese broadsword is different than European broadswords, guys. So just in case you're wondering, it's has one flat side and one curved side. The curved side is actually the sharp side. So it looks more like a scimitar. It looks like a straighter version of a scimitar. Those of you that know what a scimitar is, I guess.
Yeah.
That
I love that scimitar. I think.
Yeah.
So and then of course you move on to Jin, which is one of my favorite weapons. That started in my Tai Chi training, but then of course you get to a certain point, you learn it with the more external styles, and then actually during my time training there, I began to kind of train. I was kind of a hoe a little bit. I was everywhere, right? I'm all over the place, right? I actually began my Kali training back in 2011. The Kiri Tirsha style of Kali. My teacher learned from Leo Gahe, who learned from the creators of that style, I believe. And I've done that pretty much since then. And stick and knife fighting. And then actually I got HEMA training as well, just 3 or so years back. And that was the coolest. Let me tell you about this. I really want to talk about it. So there is a gentleman in my area who runs a company. It's called Medieval Fantasies Company is the name of it. Okay. He is a fantastic human being. I consider him one of my mentors, actually. He goes by, his name is Chris, but he goes by Sir Black Wolf. Okay, he's a Welshman. And within Medieval Fantasy Company, they do fairs, they do all Renaissance stuff, all of that. But he runs an academy, not just like what we do, right? Not unlike what we do, but instead of like Jedi Knights, it's just Knights, right? So like you go through chivalry, like he teaches you like chivalry, like down to like learn how to dance with a woman, like you learn that, like you learn all these different HEMA style European weapons, and it's just a fantastic thing. So anyway, he linked up with me because of my saber activities about 5 years ago, and he invited me out. He's like, hey, let's get together, let's train. And, I became his student, and I went over to Black Wolf Manor. That's the name of his home. And I remember I pull up, and this man has like straight up trebuchets in his yard, like just marinating in his yard, right? And then he has like...
So you're sure that was his house? Yeah, you're like, which one's your house? It's the one with the trebuchet. Okay, cool. All right.
I mean, I took a trip back like thousands of years, man. It was fantastic. And I spent my time learning longsword from him, German longsword from him. And I picked up a few other
German
things
longsword
from him.
or Zweihander?
German longsword, straight up German.
The extra longsword, as I like to call it.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, that would have been special.
Because Zweihander is just insane. Just because every martial art has its like mind frame, right? As Zweihander, to me, I'm just like, man, I hope you have a bunch of shields in front of you because you're gonna get hit a lot. You know what I mean? because it's a sword that's the
Yep.
size of a spear, you know. And it's just like,
Gosh.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. If you were, you know, a 6 foot tall, you know, a 6'5", you know, muscle bound freak, this could work. But you know, I'm sitting here at a whopping 5'8", like a T-Rex with something else.
Yeah.
I can't use this Y-hander, bro. You know,
Yeah.
it is an awesome
Yeah,
style.
look-
I mean, German longsword, I've taken only a couple classes, but I mean, there's just so much information and just so much, but it's
Yeah.
still like it's parallel, right? So you've the Eastern
is.
style and the Western style, which is awesome, and then you can compare and mix them, and wonderful. So that being said,
Yeah.
what clicked in your mind and said, I'm going to put a lightsaber in my hand instead of a Chinese Dao or a German longsword?
Yeah. So this was actually the idea of my Kali teacher. So it was a very unrefined idea, but you know, he kind of, you know, he introduced it to me nonetheless, and it was just kind of a very like joking thing, like, you know, oh, like, you know, like Jedi lightsabers, blah blah blah, and I'm kind of like, you know, okay, like, you know, I didn't really think much
Sure.
of it, and then like, you know, like a little bit of time passed, and it was actually late 2014, maybe early 2015, when the new trilogy, you know,
Yeah.
started to kind of rumble. And he's like, you know, no, like we should legit like think about doing this. Like, you know, this is be the
Right,
perfect
ride the
time.
wave.
And yeah, exactly. I know like it was a similar
Mhm.
thing with Keith. So I'm like, okay, you know, let's go for it. So me and him, you know, we joined forces, and we actually went to a gentleman who owned another McDojo, okay, in Charlottesville. It was a Taekwondo McDojo. And we were like, hey, we have this idea. And he's like, you know, no shade to anybody, but you know what McDojos is,
Sure.
you know, there you go. He's like, oh God, yeah. He's like, yeah, like please, let's
Yeah, you
do
might
it.
as well
So
have seen the dollar signs in his eyes and the sound of a cash register, right? Right.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, we went forward with it, and we actually shot
cool.
a movie. It is still on YouTube too. I don't want to admit that, but it's
Don't worry,
there.
Andre will find it.
Yeah, you
So-
just give me a little more information, and I'll track it down, and it'll be up before the end of the weekend.
I regret this, but yeah, it's there.
Is it something you're proud of,
It's
though?
called. So, well, I'll explain why. So the name of the group was Saber Force Academy. Okay, that was the name of what we put together. And if you actually put that in YouTube, you will see my face. Like I am there, hooded up with like a orange lightsaber. It's got like 90,000 views or something. Like it got up there. And the production quality was actually pretty good, man. Like from that aspect, it was great. But the way the academy was like put together and run, that's where my issue lies. But yeah, as far as the actual quality of it though, like it was good. It was good. Like it still holds up if you want to look,
Right.
if you dare.
Oh, it's still happening.
It's always good to see, you know, our humble beginnings. So, what
Yeah.
from Saber Force Academy, what made you say, you know what, I can do this myself? I'm going to call it Saberlight Knights. What drove you to that point?
So let me explain to you. So this is an interesting story. So essentially, what happened was the owner of the dojo, he kind of dropped off a little bit, and me and my Kali teacher were kind of like, you know, what's going on? Turns out he got a job as a cop in Georgia, which is, you know, south of Virginia, 2 states down. And, you know, he's like, I'm out, I'm leaving. We're like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's cool. And the dojo, it transitioned into another set of hands. Meanwhile, my Kali teacher kind of started to disappear as well, right? You know, even me, you know, with my jersey on, like I'm like LeBron carrying the whole team, right? And yeah, it just got to the point where, decisions were, being made that I didn't agree with because I was, there in the trenches, actually making things happen. So, I just chucked a couple of these and I'm like, I'm gone, I'm done. And I left and I was actually done. I was done. But I had droves of like students and parents reach out to me. They're like, you should not stop. You should continue and we will come to you. And I'm like, okay. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, let's do it. So it took me about 6 to 8 months. But in that time was when I created Saberlight Nights. And on May 4th, 2018, that's when I was like, open door. And the first day, I couldn't contain the amount of people that showed up. Like there was no room. It was fantastic.
That's great, man. That's kind of the beauty of what we do, right? Everybody kind of comes out of the woodwork when they hear, hey, this is actually happening. This is actually a real thing that you can do. And you actually train when everything was open and everything like that. You train like 3 times a week, right? Yeah, you train students 3 times a week for Saberlight Nights, specifically in Saber.
So primarily we would meet on Friday, and I teach both youth and adults. So there's a youth and adult division. And then a Saturday night session it just kind of happened. And that's actually manned by one of my more senior members. And that occurred too. So there's like 2 sessions a week. There were 2 sessions a week. And then there you go. So
as you were doing that, how did you find Saber Martial Arts Foundation?
So I found SMAF because, as I mentioned to my man Andre before we started, recording and all of that, I have listened to you guys for quite a bit of time. So I was kind of there, when the whole thing like started. I don't know how this happened, but I found the website before it was like announced. I remember that. Like I found the website and like, I sent an email. I think it went to Steve, I think it went to Steve. And then Fode hit me up like later that week. He was like, how did you know about that? We weren't supposed to like even like talk about it. I just found it, man. I don't know. Like I just so I just came upon it and I kind of looked through it. I'm like, oh hell yes. Like this is, what we need to have. We need to have this kind of synergy with this kind of mindset, but because it is of course a mindset I share. And I believe in the goal and I believe in the dream. So,
that being said, like in your school, I like to ask this of everybody. I am a person that found out you just existed. I just found out you existed. How do I find you?
So if you just found out that we existed, you can find us, of course, on, Facebook, of course. And then, we're on Instagram. Got a YouTube channel, not really much going on there yet. Plans for that. And then also we have our website, which I am actually very hard at work at now to create a virtual hub for distance training. With all our, with all 7 forms, and exotic weapons, and then you can, be able to test, get your rank and stuff like that from there. So
I found you.
All of that.
And let's pretend the pandemic isn't actually happening. Right? You're still teaching your 2 classes a week, and I show up at your class. What's my experience like? What I would obviously see that you were the one teaching, right? And as I would come up to you and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this. How do I get started?
Yeah. So if you found us and you show up, okay, first things first, I'll talk to you, give you an idea of what it is, because, it's one thing, to have the idea of a lightsaber, but I found that like the association of what it actually isn't always clear to people. So, we'll talk like, okay, yes, it's this, but, you're actually going to be sweating and you're going to be breathing hard, and you might have a bruise or two, you know, by the time you go home. So just know that. So, you know, I'll talk to you, let you know what's up. And then, and then, so the way the class will work is get warmed up. That can range from mild to moderately exhausting. Depending on the day or the week, I would turn up the warm up to the point that, you know, you bust out like, you know, 50 squats, you know, you do 20 squats, run around, and you do 20 more, run around, and you know, you're mad at me about to cuss me out. And then once we're done with that, you know, I'll loosen you up, stretch you out. And it's always accelerations first. So here at Saberlight, accelerations are solo drills, right? So, you know, you do your accelerations to help you understand how this thing works, you know, how it feels, you know, the balance, mobility. So that includes how you hold it, how you swing it, and then also how you step. Once you have your accelerations down, you get put together with partners, and that's when velocities come in, partner drills. Velocity, because you start slow. Once you understand how you move, how it works, you understand distance, you understand range, you understand your feet, then you speed it up. So you start slow and then you speed it up, and you get to the point where it becomes a bit combative, right? And then once it becomes a bit combative and you understand how it all works, you know, we'll move on to, you know, we'll do like a training game sometimes, or we'll just go into straight up sparring. And once, you know, either one of those things are completed, you know, then we'll typically close down. Sometimes we'll do some, you know, closing activities where I'll leave you breathing hard again before you walk out. Sometimes we'll just bring it down nice and light and end it that way. Now, for youth students, it's a bit different. I'm sure, as you know, Alan, kids are a bit of a different beast, right? So you have to treat them differently. So my experience for youth students is less traditional because kids, you know, you know, like, so you have to keep it dynamic and keep their attention, right? So it may be semi-similar with kids, the layout that I just gave to you, but we also play tons of games. We have, you know, what I call skill builders. It can be anything from, you know, playing tic-tac-toe on the floor, you know, between teams, running back and forth, that sort of thing. Multiple different forms of tag. Like if you think of a type of tag, like I've played it, trust me. And then battle games. So battle games, I think I heard someone on the podcast talk similarly about this. So basically they're like combat-based scenarios, right? So like they're like immersive, you know, I'll have like one side, we'll use boffers for the kids because they don't fight with actual, you know, combat, fight with boffers. So one side will have blue boffers, one side will have red. I wish I had them with me now, but I actually built like a couple of holocrons that like light up. So they'll have to like capture the other one and bring it back to their side, like capture the flag. Right, like so I have games like that. So
there's a bunch of different games you can play and you learn in any martial arts school. My favorite at my school is called Meat Grinder, or at least we called it. It's basically one hit, one kill, who's next, and basically you don't stop. And then I found out that other schools did a version of it. And so through going through other schools, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna add that to my Meat Grinder. Oh yeah, I'm gonna add that to the thing. So one of my favorite is basically a cardio blast. So there's like a stack of mats or something on the other side of the room. So you'd fight in the ring, right? One hit, one kill, and whoever lost has to run all the way to the other side, tap the mat or whatever, and then run back into line. And you go till everybody's done. Because by the time you've gotten back to line, you know, depending on how many people are there, right? And then your heart doesn't have time to settle down. So, and then all of a sudden you're in a fight again. You're like, oh crap, you know. And if you get to win, you keep fighting. So again, your heart doesn't get a chance to stop. you're still doing that, and then after a little while, you're just like, okay, it's only been 5 minutes. What the heck, But it felt like it's been going on for an hour, and you're about to die, and you just collapse on the floor, right? So that's why it's called Meat Grinder. It just kind of weeds out all the, all the people that are just done, Whoever's left standing is champ, But it's pretty grueling, but it's part of our Soresu training. It's like, if we're talking about endurance, that's where we go, man. What's even more fun is when you have 2-on-1 fights during a Meat Grinder. That's always fun. And then I don't know if so like I've evolved different games out of that. I think one of the podcasts I said it was so you start off with one opponent, and then 2 opponents, then 3 opponents, and then 4 opponents, and then by the time you're done, there's 8 people around you as you're fighting. So yeah, it's in Aikido they called it randori. It's but I'm pretty sure usually you only get 4 people in that, and they start on the other side of the room. But we start with like chaos, like he's it, go. So, but I mean that's only if there's enough people to do it, right? So you're kind of limited by your students and whether or not they freak out and their skill level and everything like that. But yeah, saber games are great. Martial arts games are a great way to really find out what you know. Like when you're sitting there, fighting in itself, like actual experience, right? Is the best teacher, because nothing says I'm good at this. Then, oh my God, there's a guy with a glowing stick about to hit me.
And look, like that's one of the things I love about your saber martial arts. It's the perfect. I think Matt from Bendu, I saw him say it the other day. I think it was during Nick's live stream. He was talking about how like saber martial arts is like pure swordplay without like the cultural implications from where it comes from. And he's 100% right. Like that's the way I've always thought about it. Like when you have all these other arts, like you have kendo or any type of Japanese fencing, there's like a cultural aspect, a traditional aspect to it. With this, it's pure martial arts without all of that, but still paying respect to all of that. Our whole philosophy here is, it's similar across the board from what I can see, but it's a light saber, right? Everything that comes with that, like you can't touch it, right? You can't hit yourself. The light it has to be on, that sort of thing. With the idea of, if you want to use this type of handguard, or if you want to, call it this sort of name, then go train that art, go train that style. But this is an activity that stands on its own, by standing on its own, and then also respecting where it comes from.
Yeah, techniques you can't do, right? That, like there is no lightsabers Y-hander because you'd have to cut your hand off. There's no half swording. Because we want our students to come back. There's no hilt shots and kicking and all that fun stuff. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a difference between a real fight and an art, right? That's why we're not saber combat arts. We're saber martial arts, because it has that combat part of it, but we're also more safe because we want to make sure that you come back and enjoy yourself. So yeah, that being said, so I went through your first class. It was great. I loved it. And I enjoyed the saber game. That makes me want to come back, right? How do you transition from, I don't want to say casual, but somebody that just started into, hey, I'd actually like to be competitive. How do you transition from casual to competitive? In your school?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way it works is it's kind of a similar thing to kind of how everyone else does it. We teach the 7 forms, and everyone will start with form 1. And what you would do upon joining is continue in that. So your Form 1 training would continue, up until about, I typically don't like to give it a time frame.
Right, so
I guess until you, yeah, right. Yep. I guess until you reach like a certain level of proficiency, right? And then, right about the time you take trials, you're kind of at that, while still beginner point, you're at that level where, you understand how it works. And at that point, while you can definitely be competitive, especially if you come from an art or you come from a style of combat art or fencing or martial art, you're at that point where you understand what you're doing and you can apply it
that's
relatively successfully.
That leads me to another question, though, is how, like your school, how do you know you're ready to go from initiate to Padawan or to knight to whatever rank rank you do? Because by the time, like in traditional martial arts, by the time you know something so well that you can teach it, chances are you're already at that level.
Yep.
Right. So how is it with you teaching saber martial arts? Is it the same transition there, or does it go parallel to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the quote is, teaching is, the ultimate form of understanding, right? Like if you could teach it to someone, then you definitely know it. I'm the one that will make the call as to if you're ready. But I can tell you the things that I look for. It's not dissimilar to what you were just saying. You know what I mean? Like there's a level of confidence that can't be spoken, but it has to be shown. And it could be like subtle stuff, like, if you're going through, your accelerations or your velocities, and, you put your foot out for a passing step and then you go, wait, and you bring it back, okay, maybe you don't really understand that, but, your movements are crisp, like boom, boom, boom. You're not thinking about it. You're doing it. It looks good. Most of all, it feels good. And at that point, it should be clear to you, and it's definitely clear to me that you're at that point where you level up.
Do you have different levels in your academy? Yeah. Are there belts, or is it different saber color? How does it work?
Yeah. So we do have levels. That's what we call them. And upon joining, you will be an initiate as an adult. If you join as a kid, you're a youngling. So as an adult, you're an initiate. And then once you pass your initiate trials, you actually get quizzed. And it's not necessarily like, what do you know quiz. It's more of a personality quiz, right? And within that quiz, it's not a forceful hand. It's more of a helping hand to kind of show you what would fit better with you, because we have diverging pathways. So we have light side, we have dark side. Depending on which side you go, your training will alter, not, 1,000%, but there will be some changes in how you train. And then at that point, if you decide light side, you will become an apprentice. If you decide dark side, you become an acolyte. And then at that point, you will continue your training. You'll take on another form and an exotic weapon, right? And then you will then move to either paladin or dark adept. And at that point, you will get ready to take your trials of knighthood or your dark side trials. And during that time, you're vetted, you're tested, you pass your trials, you either become a sentinel, consular, guardian, you become an inquisitor, and then we have a master level as well. And if you are a member of the dark side path, I don't know if it's different for other schools, but when you reach the master level, there can only be one Dark Lord in our academy. So since there can only be one Dark Lord, any Lord, just regular Lord, who wants to take on that role and its responsibilities, has to defeat Dark Lord and sanctioned like tournament.
Okay, that's a cool little twist. So.
Yeah. So it's fun.
So what's the
keeps it dynamic?
You said there are responsibilities for the Dark Lord, so I assume that means
yes.
you actually have assistants teaching you and teaching with you or doing your lessons and stuff as well. Very important in every martial
That's
arts
right.
school that you have, that senior student or whatever it is to do it. So that being said, are you're the headmaster of it? Do you have a light side master as well?
So almost. So this damn pandemic has
Sure.
desecrated everything, right? So I do have some more senior level students. I have a student, Ryan McKenna,
great.
who's a paladin, who is not long for his trials of knighthood. And then I have some other students as well. I have apprentices and acolytes who are not far behind him. So it's just a matter of, safely having the time to continue training before we're able to get to that point. But I definitely have some members who know what they are doing, and I thank God for them because doing it all by yourself, it doesn't last long. It's not sustainable. Let me put it that way.
How often do you have I guess level ups or promotions? I guess I don't know what you call it in your school.
Sure. So I like to do it kind of in a quarterly sort of fashion. It just so happened with the way I started it and the way I ran like my training seasons that I would get like a group of members and train them to the point where they were clearly ready and test them at that point. So it's typically about 3 to 4 months or so. And then, we'll have.
So, all right. So you do call them trials?
Yes, the initiate trials. That's the first set of tests that you'll take.
That would be like your first test for your first belt in your system, and then what as an initiate, right? What would be the next level to learn? So that's when you start Makashi or okay.
Yeah. So the way it would work is you pass your trials, and as I mentioned, you would have that placement sort of test. And not only will it kind of show you what path you resonate with, but it will also kind of show you you might be right for this form. I also will kind of talk with you about that too. Like this might work better for you, and then it's up to the member, the student, to choose at that.
Do you private lessons then, or do you just split everybody up in the group lesson for that? Depending on what they're teaching,
So,
you know what I mean?
So it's So it's a mixture. So there is a point where everyone's together, but before and then after, just the normal session is when I'll get with more senior level members and work with them on what they're doing.
This is just really interesting for me to learn everybody's like little twists and turns in their own academy, because if you are into this, if you're doing it, there is the part of where it's like, oh man, I'm really earning this, and the other part where it's like, holy crap, I'm going to be a knight. You know what I mean? It's like it's actually that. Now, do you give them a certificate, a belt, a saber? What do they get? Anything physical, or is it just like give them the good old Padawan chop to the shoulders? What's
so you definitely get a chop to the shoulder, 100%. But for youth students, you get one of these, and we look kind of similar, actually. Funny enough, so you get one of these.
Okay, you do get a sash,
and then you get a sash.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
for youth members.
I give my guys a sash too. That's why.
I got you.
Like,
okay.
the only guy that does that?
Well,
okay.
The Chinese back.
Yeah.
is where we come from. That's something I may implement with the adults, but As it is right now, the adults is,
Sure.
not really a whole lot of craziness to it. It's when you get to the night level, that, you will be required to,
Okay.
wear a
Yeah,
tunic and have a
That's
sash.
funny because that's what
What it is.
that's what I do for my nights. Like I actually, my wife makes the Jedi tunic things, the like basically 2 more sashes, right?
Nice.
So when somebody actually gets to the point
Okay.
where they are at night,
Yeah.
we hand them their tunic.
Fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, a similar sort of thing. Whatever you want it to be, whatever color scheme you want, like that's perfectly fine. Whether or not you're an inquisitor or a guardian or a sentinel or whatever you are, like the colors don't matter. Like
Sure.
you don't have a specific color dedicated to that. Whatever you want to do, whatever
Right.
scheme, that's on you. Make it personal.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then
So as that's happening, like I know you're in Charlottesville. When I spoke to Fode, he said you actually travel. You go around and you actually do you do tournaments or do you just do seminars?
So it's been primarily just like workshops, seminars. It was primarily. I haven't done a lot of that under the Saberlight banner. I did a lot more of it before with the other organization, but yeah, I've been as far as Northern Virginia. That's right on the cusp of Washington D.C. I've been like right up there. I've been west, and with Saberlight actually. When I met Fode, we were up in Northern Virginia, and then he and Bede came on down, and we all hung out, and that was just a fantastic night. I didn't have any drinks, but drinks were had.
That's kind of if you hang out with Fode, drinks will happen.
Yep, and they did, and I mean, it was a fantastic night. Granny Happy Swings happened that night. I don't know if you guys heard that story.
It's podcast appropriate, which is probably anything. Then go ahead and tell us.
Oh yeah. Take some libation first. Let me lubricate.
I think I know the story, but I still want to hear it from you now.
So, so basically the way we did it, it was like every 30 minutes or so, we would do like a 15-minute session. We'd have people fight first, and then people would come up and learn a couple of Shicho techniques. Well, it was at the point where people were allowed to come up and train that it had to be a grandmother and granddaughter combination come up, right? This was the oldest person of that night who decided to participate. So where are you? Like, oh, hell yeah, come on up here. So she comes up, and basically, what I was teaching them, in our system would be angle 1, 2, and then 7, which is right over the head. And then the corresponding sweeps to deal with the strikes. And then you would move forward or back. And I gave her, the knowledge, this is how you do it. And this woman, I don't know if this girl didn't clean her room that day or do her chores. I don't know what happened, but Granny Happy Swings just cheer, like trying to knock it over the green monster. Like, stop. Like she's like freaking out, like trying to block all the strikes. And I'm over there like, oh my God, you have made my existence tonight. Like you have validated my entire Saber like life. Why I do this? Like it's you, lady. And it was beautiful. Like Fode, like he couldn't even stand it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So yeah, it's Granny Happy Swings, man. It's good times. I miss those.
That being said,
wish we could go back to it.
As a teacher, you've probably gone through and participated in some saber fights yourself. What's the best, most memorable? It could be the worst. I don't know. But what's the most memorable like duel or fight that you've had?
So it was, man. Okay, I know. It was another one of these workshops in the same area. So it was about 4 or so years ago. And this was actually before, I think it was the second or third one was supposed to start. And, you kind of mess around a little bit beforehand to kind of attract people, to see what you're doing. it was completely gearless. Okay, let me preface this by saying we do wear gear. It is a priority and vital. At that point, we were just playing around, me and the other guy, and we just went back and forth, and it wasn't necessarily a all right, you get a point kind of duel, but it was just kind of playing around. But like the control and the flow and the sequence of techniques that we were both pulling off, it looked choreographed, but it was 100% not. It was I wish it was recorded. Like oh my God, like flipping out. Like it was.
Let me introduce for a second.
Hold on.
All right.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh same.
Waiting on you. So, go ahead.
You know what's not good about choreographed? This fucking battle. Let's go. So this is the first in our trash talk history. You started it. I said I'm gonna be chill with you. I'm gonna be cool with you. I'm gonna say, hey, look, mad respect. I don't know who you are that well, but like, here we go. And you're like, these hands are rated E for everyone. So let's go.
Rated E.
Okay.
Rated.
Here's where I'm gonna start. All right. So I'm Eric's student.
Let's go.
Right. So Battlemaster student. He's gonna be real disappointed in me, but that's not the point. Close friends with Steve. Wine tasting all the time. We hung out rather frequently. So how do I not even know who the fuck you are? Like, none of these guys told me about you, which probably means you're not worth their time. Like, if I don't know it took this interview to figure out one piece of information from you. Your website looks like it was made on MySpace.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So check this out. So I don't talk about it. I be about it. Okay. All of this. That's just white noise, baby. Okay. It's all about hands. Okay. And these hands are bisexual.
You
okay.
See, I like the
Everyone
bisexual hand. Let's
all
go.
Right? And that is.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. No, let me just say, okay. I love and appreciate you. Okay. I've been a listener of this podcast, of your podcast for a couple of years. Okay. I do have a bad feeling about what's going on right now. But that's okay. All right. Because, I got you. I can handle you and I know what to do. Okay.
Well, what you don't realize is I'm fresh out the shower because you go fresh all the damn time. So I'm going to come at you with the frostiest, the freshest fighting I've got. Because you know what? I feel like this is about to get real. All right. No. So when this fight happens, when we get everyone down to inevitably pummel me into a crater, you're second. Want to know why? My first fight is always a warm-up. My second fight is where shit goes down. You're number two. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just use my amazing force powers to yeet the camera? Yeah.
You use some kind of force voodoo
I don't want to see you anymore.
I
don't want to see you anymore. Just get that.
You know
get
what?
that camera out of here.
Hold on. Alan, Andre, you guys hear someone talking? You hear something?
What you hear is the person talking. That guardian girl, mistress of perception.
Oh, she froze.
Oh, no! Her internet shut her down. She's gonna be so pissed.
That's how
Marina, come back.
She's gonna be so mad.
Marina.
Oh man.
Oh.
Back on again.
Hey, she used her dark side powers to knock my phone down. I use mine to freeze her.
She's gonna be so pissed too when she comes back.
Oh man.
I was waiting for them. I wanted that. That's what I really wanted tonight.
You had an awesome league. You were in the zone, right? We call it being in the zone. You were in the zen. You were fighting before Marina shows up. But that was the most memorable fight, and that was just a demonstration, right?
Yeah. Well, we were touching each other, just enough to know. That's the other thing. It was a part of the control. It was just,
Okay.
Hello.
So
Hello there.
we're on mobile, and that's
Hey.
I am so hot that I burnt out my husband's computer. His computer was fried because what I'm spitting is so hot and spicy that the computer could not handle it.
Fire.
Not at all.
I
believe you. I mean, you saw my stuff falling down. Look,
obviously,
I know, Marina. I know.
Your battle can't be settled with your force powers. So obviously,
clearly equal.
Obviously, you'll have to fight with sabers. That's how.
You know what? Hold on, Alan. I love you, bro. Nick, Keith, all y'all. Nah, I want her. I want you. Because I've watched these past podcasts. I've seen what you said to my man Keith. I saw you were talking to Nick. I want you.
I'm the one
you
that everybody wants.
It's the last song.
Hey, you're a popular girl, and I see why.
I'm actually gonna die when this finally goes down. I'm gonna die happy. I will die happy, but I'm gonna die.
Right. She should have a smile on her face. Bruises everywhere.
Hey, I'm still lights out. I won't, kill you per se, but at the same time, I kind of will. So.
All right.
Look, hey, it's as long as you can get one of those famous, Marina butt bruises on me.
Remember,
I'll take that.
Whenever we do the Gathering of Masters, the only legal target point on Marina will be her ass. Points, unless you hit it. Bam!
What you have to do though before each match is ask my husband for permission. So we'll go back to our corners, and you have to be like, "Okay, Steven, can I get this point?" Right. You have to yes or no, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, he'll say yes.
Right. I got you.
No, that's. You know what? Now I'm kind of curious. Like, there's a part of me that genuinely wants to do that rule. Also, I don't think people are prepared for my level of ass whooping.
Oh my gosh. I believe her too. I believe her.
Well,
I haven't met her, and I
genuinely look forward to this. I appreciate the trash talk back, by the way, because everyone else has been just taking it lying down.
Mm-hmm. Oh no!
Right.
You got the right one tonight.
I will see you in the arena.
Arena. That's what we'll call it. All right. Yeah.
So flow, right? Flow and control.
So yeah, so you got into the flow. You did that, and at the time, did you know, or was it one of those things where you thought about it later, and you're like, "Holy crap, that was awesome."
So I didn't really pay much attention to it until all the oohs and ahs started, and then at that point I'm like, oh, this is this is actually something, right? And then you have people coming up patting you like, that was, can you teach me how to do that? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but yeah, I guess. Yes, let's do it.
That being said, going into that moment, what is the besides Marina? What's the next fight you look forward to?
Mm-hmm. Gosh, man, if it ain't Marina, I can't.
That's
even
her goal,
it, man.
That's her goal is to make it the next one you're looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, well, look, honestly, man, I've seen you tear it up in a lot of the invitationals and tournaments and stuff you guys have out there, So I wouldn't mind, crossing it up with a
It
fellow
would be my honor.
kung fu man.
I love
I think that'd be
fighting,
good too.
and I don't know if you can hear in any of those fights how much I'm laughing when we're fighting. I have a really mean face. Like I have Savage Opress's face painted on my fencing helmet. But if you turn up the volume, you might be hearing me giggle during the fights. So, but it's one of those things where I would love to do it, and it's I don't know if that's something that was taught to me by my teachers, but a lot of it becomes this is something that I've been practicing forever, for decades. So I actually get to use it, and people are in a safe environment and agree to it. we get to hit each other, and we were friends after. We'll have dinner later. Yeah. It's just a really good community building to actually do tournaments and to have events and to even do exhibitions like what you were doing, right? Because that really shows your not just your level of proficiency, but your level of not just confidence but competence. And that's and that's really the in my opinion, like the sign of a good teacher, a good martial artist, is the fact that you can do it in front of everybody and not just in your mirror, at home, because everybody's Bruce Lee in the mirror, right? You win every fight, but until a glowing six coming in your face, you don't really know, and it's that moment, that we get in the fight that I feel like creates great fights. And styles make fights, right? Styles make great fights. So whatever your style is, whatever you were training that month or the past few weeks shows up in the next fight, and because you're using that same movement all the time, trying to put it into your body. And so I love, like I was telling Nick, watching a student that was training a year ago show up to the next tournament and going, wow, look how much you've grown. Look how much you've actually, expanded your knowledge and movement. I mean, that's really cool. And the fact that you have people that are going up in rank and getting to do that and seeing their journey, that's really, at least to me as a teacher, that's what fulfills me, Yeah.
That's what it's about. 100%. I'm with you, man. There's nothing like, this actually happened, I think last week, a little bit of yesterday too, but it's nothing like, being like a teacher, mentor to somebody and, giving them these tools and then actually like seeing them happen in the moment. I mean, you can just slip the side of my lips because that's how big, my smile is. It's fantastic. It is one of the most fantastic things you could ever feel. I do love that very much.
What is there anything more you want to share that makes you happy, proud, want people to know about your school? Is there anything like I'm not sure what your state's opening structure is like right now, but are you guys looking forward to getting in, or is it going to be trickling kind of? How's it going for you guys?
Yeah. So we're still at the point. I think we're still at 10 or less. I think, if not that, maybe the next step up. So we're cooling it for now. Nothing official, and it will likely kind of stay that way for a little bit. With that being said, we have one of my paladins, Ryan. He organized a invitational tournament, COVID safe, masked up, socially distanced, cool. You get your temperature before the whole thing, that whole sort of stuff. So that's going on right now. And that's actually going to be compiled together, I guess kind of movie style. And then, that'll be coming your way for some commentary. So that's going on right now. And I think that was a really brilliant way to, kind of bring everyone together and have them, go for something, So, with that in mind, that's going on. Aside from that, we'll definitely kind of lay back a little bit. It's going to be a while before we're back, which sucks, but that's when your online training, your distance learning, and your own practice comes into play. I emphasize practice. It's important with anything, or your atrophy otherwise. I live out in the country. I live on acreage, so I have plenty of space to train outside. I inherited a bunch of like these Mook Jung, dummies from my grandfather, who was also a martial artist, like back in the 70s. So when he passed, I ended up getting them. And they work perfect for, both, bare hand and for sabers. So, it's important to stay on top of that and keep the training going. Man. It's always good.
Any lessons that you've learned from practicing your martial arts and sabers that you want to give people?
Yeah. The biggest lesson that I have personally learned is it sounds kind of cheesy and it sounds like overly philosophical when you hear people say it, but I found it's true. And that is when you train like martial arts and you do all these combat, themed things, you actually aim for peace above all else. Because in my opinion, when you know what you can do, or what you could potentially do and what you're capable of, that is not something you would ever really want to do to somebody, or just be in a situation like that. And that's the lesson I want people to take from it. Train to, improve your health, improve your lifestyle,
sure.
And when I say health, not just physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, whatever health you have, you can improve it that way. And then, for the self-defense aspect of it, that is there. Quick digression. I worked as a bouncer for a couple of years and I got in a few scraps. And, in the midst of all that, you kind of look at it this is nonsense. I don't want to sure. have to do this to somebody or have to be in a situation like this. And that's the mindset that you want to take, in my opinion, with your training. And in regards to sabers, I feel this is important above all else. In this internet day and age, people like to do a lot of this and criticize and, showcase their form of elitism. And it sickens me that sure. I have seen that kind of trickle into this activity. Because at the end of the day, I say this all the time, this isn't 1576 Japan and you're not in a rice field getting ready to cut down,
right.
an enemy. You're not going to die if you lose this fight. With this saber in your hand, this is the time to do a butterfly kick slash and try it. Who cares if it's not something that's not practical or doesn't work?
Right.
That's the beauty of this. You don't have to worry about that sort of thing.
Right.
So for sabers, it's just have fun with it.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Just have fun with it.
Genuine pleasure to hang out with you and kind of stick your mind a little bit. I think that we should tell people how to find you if this is their first place to hear you talk about Saberlight Knights. How would our good listeners find Saberlight Knights in Virginia?
Yeah, so you can find us website saberlightnights.com, and then that will link you everywhere else. Facebook, it's Saberlight Knights. Instagram, same thing, all one word.
Right. I think. And then I think we've also linked you on SaberMartialArts.life,
straight to the point,
which is the Saber Martial Arts Foundation website. And then Andre has a list, I believe.
We've got the whole collection. Okay, yeah, so so yes, you can find San Diego Sabers and the podcast at sandiegosabers.life. You can email me directly for podcast-related questions at andre.sdspodcast@gmail. If you have any questions about the club, it's San Diego Saber, singular, @gmail.com. Our Instagram is SD Sabers. A lot of our activity is on Facebook right now. So if you look up San Diego Sabers in Facebook, we have a fan page as well as a group page. The group page is intended for those who are active participants in the club. So if you ask to be part of the group and you don't get a response, it means we've never seen you at practice before. So hang out with the Facebook page, the fan page, and you can get all the information about what's going on. And then as you come and join play with us, then we'll try to fold you into the other page. YouTube, once again, San Diego Sabres. We always put the caveat in there that there is another group in town also called San Diego Sabres. They are a hockey club. Obviously, if you see somebody with a hockey stick and not a saber, that's not us. So as you go looking for us, that's where you'll find us. But once again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, San Diego Saber at Gmail or andre.stspodcast@gmail.com.
That's awesome. So that being said, man, it was, again, a pleasure. Courtney, thank you for being here. Andre, thank you for being you and running this whole freaking show. I don't think anybody else
Absolutely
is able to drive the bus without you. So
it's part of the team having fun.
Right. Who's driving the plane if you're here? All right.
There you go.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Till next time, guys. All right. Bye.
Until next time, remember, always keep your blades up, don't lose your tip, and may the force be with you.
San Diego Sabres Radio Podcast. Star Wars. The Star Wars logo, music, characters, and other Star Wars items are the property of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content is property of San Diego Sabres, copyright 2020. May the force be with you.